Sweden just broke the internet this week, people. Hey guys, what's going on? Andrew coming at you, and we're going to talk about Sweden Gate. Now, I'm going to get a lot of hate and criticism for this. Now, let me first say, anytime I say anything negative about Sweden or anybody, especially when they're foreign, Swedish people are very, very sensitive about what people think of their country. So much so that they can get very, very defensive when they hear it. Rather than take the criticism in, they will then tell you why what they're doing is the perfect way to do it, the right way to do it. So much so that I see people writing articles in Swedish papers explaining why they do what they do because kids have a meal plan. It's like, I call that Swede-splaining, where you can't accept the criticism and then you have to go through and explain exactly why. I'll give you an example. I might not think the Systembolaget is the right system, right? Well, a Swedish person, rather than accept that, will then explain to me why it's the perfect system for Sweden. Now, you might be right, and I might be wrong, but it's just interesting because I actually think that Americans do a better job than Europeans overall taking in criticism, which you might think sounds crazy. Maybe in my perspective it's different because I'm an American foreigner, American traveling and living here, so maybe I'm just more open-minded. But I feel like at least half of the United States country is very critical of their own country and would accept it from other people. Of course, there's a certain group of people that wear red hats that would probably not take the criticism, but I even think some of those people would take criticism. So first, we got to talk about the Sweden Gate controversy. What I'm going to do is show you a couple TikTok clips, or at least one clip here.
The funniest thing is people just now finding out that growing up as a child, it will be really common to go and play at your friend's house. And then they will be like, oh, I'm just going to go and have dinner. I'll be back in 30. And they would just leave you in their room. And you just had to play for like 30 minutes until they came back after they had food with their family. What the my family would never do that. A lot of families would never, but a lot of families would, and it wouldn't like be a strange thing. It would just be like, oh, I'll just eat when I get home. I think the strange thing is to not even ask, like, do you want to sit with us? You can have a sandwich, you can have whatever, like just to leave somebody in the room is so rude. Like, it's so rude, but it's definitely Swedish culture. It's hilarious. I don't know why. I really don't know why.
So you get the basic gist of it is, kids go on a play date, they're with a Swedish family. At some point it gets close to dinner time. The kid is asked to wait in a separate room while the Swedish family eats, and then he comes back out and plays with them. Now, to 95 to like 98% of cultures in the world, this would be considered extremely rude and unwelcoming. If you look at other cultures around the world, like, you show love and appreciation through food. You show someone being welcomed through food. I can tell you personally, being a child, I would not feel welcomed in that environment. I would feel like I don't completely belong. I would feel terrible. And I would even go along so far to say Swedish kids that also experience that, if they really think back and really think about the emotions they felt that first time that happened, they probably didn't feel welcomed. I'm sure some people write in the comments that they did. Now, with all that said, I got to say that I still feel like this is something that's quite rare. I do not think that this happens all the time. I actually think if it happens and there's a certain percentage, let's say it happens 25% of the time, and that's even high. But it is something that a lot of Swedish kids experienced in the 90s and earlier. And I've heard people say, well, Sweden used to be very, very poor. So this is probably where this started from, is that Sweden used to have a lot of food shortages. And throughout their history, and times were tough. They weren't always the roaring 70s, if you will, in Sweden, and people couldn't share food as much. But even then, I would be critical of a little bit, because I've been to areas that have been extremely poor. It's in Puerto Rico, in a very poor area, and I'll tell you, the Puerto Ricans, they fed me every single day. They offered me food all the time, even though they didn't have a lot of money. So I don't know if I agree with that one, but I agree that it's rooted in something. Now, I will say that I do not believe that it's rude. See, I don't think that Swedish people are doing this to make people feel unwelcome. So I think that that's a very, very important perspective to put out there, is that Swedish people doing this don't mean to be rude. It's just that I personally believe it is rude. And what I mean by that is, as I just went through and said, this is how you welcome a family. If most people around the world feel that this is unwelcoming, it's probably most likely unwelcoming. In my personal opinion, you always offer a child food, because you never know if that child truly gets taken care of well, if they get fed well. Maybe I'm biased at this because I work in education. So, one of the most important things about schools, and this is worldwide, is that they give kids food every day. So much so that they have to give kids food every single day. And even during the pandemic, the big controversy was finding a way to make sure kids got one good meal, because then you know a kid is eating well. So it's just a basic care thing that if you're making sure a kid eats well, especially nowadays with like cell phones, you can call the parents if you have the number, you can find out if they have any food allergies or anything else. I really think that most Swedish people, if they did this before, probably will reconsider it in the future. But again, it's not meant to be rude. It's just kind of a weird thing that is strange. Like, so strange. And it's interesting because half the people say they don't do it. Half the people say that they do it and there's nothing wrong with it. So my personal opinion is it's kind of messed up. It's rude, but I understand that it's not intentional. Now, for the Swedish people getting super, super upset about this, what I gotta say is you gotta put things in perspective a little bit. I mean, think about the stuff that we're debating in America right now, like real issues. Real issues. People are giving you guys some criticism about not feeding their kids sometimes. Like, nobody has a problem with Sweden, right? Sweden, maybe Turkey's the only one. But people like Sweden, right? Nobody's that upset at Sweden. It's just that Sweden happened to be trending for something that maybe wasn't so cool. So, I think you guys can chill. I don't think the hate is going to be so bad. I've had people come after me and say all these horrible things about America or about me because I'm American on my TikTok, simply just because I talked about it. It's like they go for my jugular, man. It's like, relax. It's just some simple criticism. I love you guys. My whole channel is like dedicated to Swedes. You guys are not rude. You can just come across as rude sometimes, right? Just like Americans can come across as rude sometimes. I can come across as rude being an American eating food because Americans hold their silverware a different way. You might look at me like I'm some barbarian if I eat that way. But to me, that's my normal culture. That's what I eat. So yes, we should always look at things through a different lens. But I think moving forward, Swedish people are probably going to think about this issue much more and probably not do that. It does sound like some kind of new agey type of thing. It's not meant to be rude. Swedish people are cool, and everybody just needs to chill. All right? That's what I got for you guys. I love you, Swedish people, so don't hate on me, and I'll see you in the next video. Hej då!